right, it's time for Betting Weekly Tennis Live. We're back again. It's Mitch Michaels, Tim Dennis here, all part of the Bet Rivers Network. Download the app, subscribe to our socials at Because We Win, the X account, Instagram, as well as the YouTube channel. 10,000 subscribers and counting. Can't wait to hit our next milestone there. We're recapping Wimbledon. We're talking live action as the tennis grind does not stop. We've got hard court. We've got clay. We're almost time for that North American swing as well. So it's a good time of the year to be talking tennis, as it always is. Mitch Michaels, the host, alongside Tim Dennis. Tim, how are we doing today on this Monday?
Hey, Mitch. Yeah, good to see you. This is kind of the I'm not normally have the calm before the storm, but maybe this is the calm after the storm, really, after a brilliant 2 weeks at Wimbledon that I'm sure everyone enjoyed. Good men's final yesterday and a little bit more competitive than the women's final, which was fortunate for everyone viewing it. But yeah, a great tournament. I'm sure we can look back on it.
Yeah, we've got action on the hard court tonight in Los Cabos in Mexico. There's clay action, some live matches, Gstaad and Bastad for the Switzerland, Sweden, respectively, for the men. Women are also in Hamburg and Romania. But yeah, the one bet I didn't see on Bet Rivers, and they have everything, Tim, is this show going to actually be longer than the women's final? I don't know. It might be.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. I mean, what did you make of that final? Anisimova, she just looked tight, didn't she? And never got going. And whether she might, that coin toss, obviously she won the coin toss and elected to serve. Sometimes whether you're a little bit nervous when you might want to receive because you're not expected to win your receiving games, whereas you kind of are your service games. But I think you got to respect that she took the bull by the horns and thought, yeah, I'll come out here and serve. And
yeah. My big takeaway, and yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, it was a great run by Anisimova. There's two things, right? Like first major final jitters plus playing Iga for the first time jitters. It really is just a tough challenge. If you haven't ever, and they played in the Junior Fed Cup, but it's different when they're pros and they've gained strength and gotten much, much better and more defined. But not having experienced her ball before and then compounding it, Tim, with the fact that this was the Wimbledon final, maybe the most nerves you could have in any tennis setting for someone first experiencing it. I think that's tough. And Iga, as we know all too well, is probably the best player at playing downhill. If there's any player that smells blood in the water and races at the finish line, I think she does it the best, maybe even the best in all of tennis, men or women. So I think it was just a tough task that kept getting worse and worse, which is why, hindsight's 2020. Tim, she's now 6-0 in major finals. But what I like the best about her in these matches is kind of the game spread, because she is going to have the lopsided set win. So I'm not necessarily, I know you're more of a betting expert, but the spread isn't normally my bread and butter to look at, especially in tight matches. But with Iga, I think it is, because there seems to be a lot of breadsticks and bagels in her matches, even if it is a major final.
Yeah, that's what she's brilliant at. And when she's got her sort of foot on the opponent's throat, so to speak, she doesn't let up at all, does she? And she was probably gunning for that 6-love. Yes, on Saturday. Sorry, certainly after the first set, I bet she was probably thinking, I'll repeat the dose here and really stamp my authority. I thought with Anisimova as well, she came across really well. I thought she pretty much admitted she pretty much emptied the tank against Sabalenka. I think she said she was warming up on Saturday morning and she was having to stop after every point, just feeling a little bit fatigued after that and just not 100% at her best. And maybe that's why there was a slight drift on her maybe in the morning of the match. But that's something she can work on, and she's obviously worked really hard in her fitness, because this time last year she was miles behind where she is now. So yeah, it can only do her good, and she can only do better going forward. And she'll be gunning now for these US Open tournaments and warm-ups and be looking towards that, I'm sure.
Top 10 ranked, so we know how good she is in terms of where she's come. The Dubai champion earlier this year, so it's just been a great year. Still a very young player, but yeah, it was tough to take that on the chin for Iga, who's now 6-0. As I said, major finals, and it's funny how things can change, right? Who would have ever thought that the first title she wins in over a year comes at the All England Club, where she was dominant playing downhill, and you can talk about maybe the draw opening up, and you just play who's in front of you, Tim. Also, she beat types of players along the way that had given her trouble during these struggles she had. So full marks to Iga. It's 6 major titles, Hall of Fame resume, and building it still.
Yeah, you can't knock that. And I think he hasn't really been spoke about too much, but I think our coach has got to take a bit of credit as well, Wim Fissette, because obviously I think he led Kerber to a Wimbledon title there too. And Swiatek, maybe he's gone a bit under the radar, really, because I'm sure he's made a big effort to make her more comfortable on grass and get her into that position obviously her serve was much improved. I think hers was the best server, women's server of the whole tournament, which really tells you something. And yeah, now
Yeah.
she looks the eager of old, and I'm sure she's going to be fully looking
Yeah.
forward to everything that comes in front of her now.
Well, we know too that on Bet Rivers you can make the best action, and our producer Troy sharing some great stats with us. There was 10 to 15 people betting live that Iga would win a 6-0 set one at plus 2,500. So you look at some of those stats, and I know there's a lot of people too that smartly cashed out on their Anisimova futures when she made the finals. Still remarkable to say. It's boding up well for a hard court edition, a hard court tournament. Because the last time we were on this show at the U.S. Open, coming off our fourth major of the year, it was Sabalenka who couldn't get the job done against Anisimova, the third American to defeat her. It's a weird place for her, Tim, Sabalenka, because she's been the most consistent player. She's still number one, yet no major titles to show for it, and some hard defeats in the back stages of all these majors so far.
Yeah, seeing how she's going to get on going forward is going to be fascinating, because obviously she's done well in these majors, losing 2 finals and losing a semi-final, but she'll be thinking that's not good enough. And whether we've seen her mentally have problems before, certainly with the double faults years ago, and now whether this sort of semi-final stroke final sort of not delivering at the biggest moments. Obviously she's won major championships before, but whether that might just start to play a slight niggle in her mind, and it'll be fascinating to see how that plays out, because obviously there's lots of players who are raising their levels now on these hard courts, and they're going to be challenging her. So obviously Anisimova has a nice head-to-head record against us, and not many do, but yeah, she's got a few questions to answer there now, hasn't she?
She certainly does. So we've got an opportunity going forward for some players there. We're going to get to the men's final in a second, but I want to talk about the live betting window right now. WTA is in Hamburg at 250. They're also in Romania. The only match of the day taking place, the last match of the day in Hamburg, is Mayar Sherif taking on Louisa Chirico, the American. Sherif is up a break, but has break point down. She's a huge favorite there, is the Egyptian, who played her college tennis at Pepperdine. So she's got some American roots as well. And then we've also got Bagu taking on Habino, up a set and a break in Romania, along with Jovinskaya versus Shimanovic is the other match, where Jovinskaya is up a break in the second, but down a set. So any thoughts on the live window? It's nice to see Louisa Chirico back on court, but Mayar Sherif's one that I think has been, a thorn in a lot of sides of top players. And I think the odds reflect it with her being such a big favorite at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I know Rory was quite keen on Sherif in this tournament in his WTA show that I listened to with Nigel over the weekend. And did she just hold there that serve? Was she?
Yes, let's see. Yeah, it's 4-all. So she did serve
4-all.
-250.
So yeah, gets
now.
that break back. So Chirico, we're looking to press on here, and she's got nothing to lose with Sherif being a big favourite and expected to win this match. So if Sherif can hold her serve here and then put her under pressure going into this set to actually stay in the first set, then that'll stand her well.
Yeah, and you might think, why are players playing on clay now? It is kind of weird with the schedule. What would be in it with the U.S. Open coming up? Well, money, number one, and also the ranking points and seeding points. And we saw it, like, if you can just continually move up, whether it's getting in the top 100, getting direct entry into a major, or getting a seed, Tim, this is a valuable time. So any way you can do it, you got to find a way to have success on tour. And for some players, it's going back to the clay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because some of these guys and girls going forward will know perhaps the clay is more suitable to them than these fast American hard courts. So, like you say, with their ranking points, they'll be trying to make hay while the sun shines before having to go back to these hard courts. So if they can get those points in where they're more comfortable, more favoured, then that's going to suit them going forward. Like you say, getting into majors, earning more money for first round losses, etc. So yeah, a good target for some of these people going forward.
We did have one more match in Hamburg. I misspoke. It's Uchijima taking on Schunk, and they're in the first game, 30-all in that one. Uchijima was someone, Tim, that I thought, she had the big win over Pegula on the clay. I think there's a lot to like about her at her age and her potential. So that's one I guess I'm monitoring for sure.
Yeah, she just lost her way a little bit. I think she's lost her last five matches on the clay, losing there in Basel over the weekend, having gone there from Wimbledon after being defeated by Dayana Schneider. But like you say, with that win against Pegula on the clay, she certainly got the ability to do it. So it'll be interesting to see how she gets on in her first game of the clay after Basel anyway.
That comment that we have from Shane here is interesting too, and we appreciate all the comments on Betting Weekly Tennis Live. But is heat a factor for Iga at the U.S. Open in September? And talking about Sabalenka's comfortability given her competitors right now, and I think there's two parts to this. One is the Sabalenka part, Tim. Players at the top are just actively coming up with strategies and trying to find ways to beat her. I think that's what happens. We talked about this before. Iga under the radar with different type of pressure. She felt more comfortable. I don't know that I would agree with the heat side of things because she's won the U.S. Open before. And if you look at her losses there, Ostapenko, we know how that story has gone, and certain other matchups that have just befuddled her. I think last year she was kind of lacking confidence that time of the year, which spilled over to the beginning of this year. But Sabalenka is, dealing with adversity for the first time really since she ascended to the #1 position.
Yeah, just to start with Iga there, like you say, she's won the tournament before, so I don't see that as being a big issue. I know she's probably not the biggest fan of playing that competition. She spoke vocally about she's probably more of an introvert as a character, and she kind of likes keeping herself to herself. And a huge hustle and bustle of New York probably isn't right up her street. But she's won that title before, so I don't think it'll bother her too much. But yeah, Sabalenka, about her looking comfortable. There's a good point there. You saw her get frustrated against Siegman in the quarterfinals. There, managed to find a way through, to her credit, but definitely didn't play her best in that semi-final. I think she was 3 from 14 on break points against Anisimova there, and her return game was really poor for her. And she said in her interview afterwards that perhaps she just doubted herself a little bit, and she had to remind herself that she's the world #1, and she didn't do that on court. She only did it in the interview afterwards. And perhaps just not letting herself go, not letting her shots go, which she openly admitted herself. So definitely some reservations to have about her.
Well, the ATP action that's going on right now, we got a match taking place. Stricker versus Herbert, taking place in Gstaad. Stricker is serving to stay in the set 4-5 down. We have Deuce there. He's plus 104. Young Swiss kid was part of the next gen tournament coming up on the ways. Hasn't had the rise steadily that he would have liked, but still plenty of time in his young career. Playing a guy who's known as a double specialist, won a couple majors, did very well in the Davis Cup for France as well, and Herbert. But maybe it's, and part of it too with watching this match and seeing how it goes, it's tricky to play someone, Tim, who's got that doubles background because of how his net prowess is. So Stricker, Herbert, who do you like, or do you have a read in this one as we go deep into the first set?
I probably quite like Herbert. I saw him lose in the French Open to Fonseca, and even though he lost in straight sets, I was reasonably impressed by him. I thought he played a pretty solid game there. Clay not reasonably suits him well. Didn't have the best run on the grass courts over here, so we're happy to get back there. And although he has a break set point here actually, Herbert. So if he can take this, he'll be looking good going forward. But nails are really short. But perhaps if he doesn't take this game and you go 5-5, I'd be looking to get involved with Herbert, I think.
Playing on some home soil in Gstaad for Stricker, so we'll monitor that one as the show goes along. Set point, Herbert. Thoughts on Los Cabos? It's that time of year, and we're going to get to it a little bit, but that time of year where we got tennis in the evening in these North American hours, and we got a lot of opportunities there. But Tim, I wanted to, while we're here on Betting Weekly Tennis Live, get your thoughts on the men's final. Jannik Sinner stopping the losing streak against Carlos Alcaraz, avenging the heartbreaking loss in Paris. He wins Wimbledon in 4 sets, drops set 1, wins the last 3. He does it in a methodical way, and while it might have been a pipe dream to expect, I mean, no one was going to probably get or reasonably expect a classic like the Roland Garros final in a consecutive match. But what was your reaction to how Sinner played sets 2, 3, and 4? How he was serving, how he befuddled Alcaraz, and really didn't give him the time to create the magic that he did in Paris.
Yeah, he played real smart tennis, didn't he? His serve wasn't quite there in the first set, and that really came on in sets 2, 3, and 4, as you could tell by the stats. And Alcaraz just looked a bit, to me, like he just ran out of ideas towards the end of the match. Sinner was just hitting the ball too clean, too deep, too powerful. And the drop shot, I think Sinner started to get a good read on that the longer the match went on. So that was kind of taken away from Alcaraz a bit there. And yeah, it did look to me like Alcaraz just ran out of ideas, certainly come the end of the match. And Sinner was much the best from what I saw. I don't know what you thought.
I thought he was. I thought end of the second set, those 2 points he played back-to-back, maybe his best points of the match, or he's certainly up there to win the second set. That kind of woke him up. But for me, it was the third set where neither player was serving very well. I mean, early, even winning points on their first serve. But I thought third set, he had a lot of aces, and he was also on the other end of it, Tim, reading Alcaraz's serve a lot better than most. So, yeah, it was very methodical for me. He didn't take unnecessary chances. And, Alcaraz has been known, we've talked about it before, he's been known for the dips, right? There's some high moments, there's some low moments. You can just weather the storm, keep your head in it in Sinner's case. And it also goes to show you the difference in surfaces, right? Alcaraz can extend points. He can do it better than anyone on grass, but it's not the same as clay, even with the surfaces being homogenized. So I think going forward, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but I do think that this matchup might tend to favor Sinner more on grass as opposed to clay.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you at all on that. I mean, looking forward, if someone's to give you a free sort of $100 bet now, who'd have more majors coming into their career? Who are you going with?
I think I'd still go Alcaraz. I know it's kind of crazy. He's got a little youth on his side. I know that's a tough one. Wow, because what Alcaraz is, what is he, 1 up now? 2 up?
Yeah, one.
He's 1 up, 5-4,
yeah.
right? 5-4. He's got what, a year and a half, let's say, close to that. I think this is where I'm going, Tim, because I would say Alcaraz because I think that there's still maybe a ceiling. Sinner's amazing. I don't want to begrudge him, but I think there might still be more potential in Alcaraz to get better, as frightening as that sounds.
No, it's probably a real coin flip.
Yeah.
It can't be more than sort of 10 to 11 either way. But
are we going to be sitting here at the U.S. Open when it's all said and done saying Sinner had triple championship point away from a calendar slam?
I mean, it looks like that. I mean, who's going to stop him? I mean, outside Alcaraz, who is going to stop him?
Bet Rivers,
Taylor Fritz this fortnight, but they still look.
Bet Rivers has the future odds right now, and Sinner is plus
still
114.
Just looks a level below that. Yes. Yeah.
We got Sinner at plus 114.
We got Alcaraz what's the price?
We got Alcaraz at plus 170, and I'm looking at Djokovic 650, Draper 1300, Zverev 1700, Fritz 22, and then Shelton 33. Oddly enough, did you see the report Zverev might be working with the Nadal camp?
I haven't seen that yet. No.
Yeah, some thoughts out there.
He's got to do something to switch up, though, isn't he?
He does, yeah. But who's going to stop him is right. I mean, Grigor Dimitrov, as we've got in the comments, almost stopped him. But I still don't. There's another part of me that doesn't expect. I think that match was coming down to whoever wins the third set. That's my take on the matter. So
yeah, sorry, miss. I was just reading the comments. I missed that last bit. Sorry.
I think the Dimitrov match was coming down to whoever won the third set. So I don't. Yeah.
So it was such a shame, wasn't it? Will never happen, but are you back? Are we there? Just a few.
Yeah, a lot of connection. I don't think it's it might be my end, but I think we're all good now. Total shame there, but yeah, I mean, who's going to stop Jannik Sinner is correct, right? Like it's going to be a tough task. Ooh. Well, let's see. I think it might be on Tim's end, unfortunately, but we can let me see. Yeah, it's a little connections here, but just to go over and we'll see. We'll try to get everything situated as we go forward. But yeah, just going over the future odds on Bet Rivers. And if you like Jannik Sinner plus money, plus 114 now, we're going to reach a point. We are going to reach a point, and we'll power through these technical issues as we will here on Betting Weekly Tennis Live. But if you like Jannik Sinner plus money, plus 114, I mean, wow, it's really good because he's going to be minus money before all is said and done. Jack Draper, the semifinalist a year ago, is plus 1,300. And he's somebody that I think could make a move as well, too. So, yeah, I'm looking at that as one of my favorite picks, too. is if you like Draper, you can probably get him at plus 13 because he might come down. But Ben Shelton and the Americans, honestly, Shelton might have the most value at 3,300, given the fact that all he loses to is the top players in the world. So depending on where he is in the draw, he's been a good bet to make it through. Let's see, Tim, you back?
Sorry, not quite sure what happened there, but
you're good.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, just to put a bow on it, I was looking at the numbers, and yeah, I think Sinner's going to be minus money by the time we get to New York. That's my bold pick. And I think Shelton at 33 might be the best value, given that only the top guys have knocked him out at majors.
Yeah, we know those conditions are going to be beneath slick, hard courts, warm weather. So you're going to be looking for like Draper obviously did well there last year. Shelton the same, and Shelton seems to be building confidence, doesn't he, now in these bigger events? Whether he's got the weapons to deal with these top level guys, I think you're probably going to need the odd sort of freak result, like if Dimitrov had stayed fit the other day, whether someone else can just take out these guys and then do everyone a favor. So perhaps at least one of them on one side of the draw. So we're not going to be having these Sinner Alcaraz finals all the time.
You got the U.S. Open for the women. No surprise, it's Sabalenka, the favorite, but maybe, because of what's happened, Iga's, she's plus 270. Iga's coming up at plus 320, so not as big of a gap there. And then Coco, the usual suspects, Andreeva, who's into the top 5 for the first time. Anisimova and Keys are tied for 5th, Pagula. So it's not going to be like Wimbledon, I think, where we're going to have more long shots and more just outright upsets on the grass. But, there's still some depth at the WTA game. And the Americans, of course, leading the way, Sabalenka, Iga at the top. But, there's a deep pool of contenders that can outright win this thing or at least challenge for the title.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'm still waiting on Rybakina to come back and show a decent level of form, because I do think that on her best level is good, if not better than Iga's and Sabalenka's. But it's just finding it again. She's obviously had health issues, coaching issues, but I'm sure that the talent is still there and it will come back one day. But whether it's going to come back in America, we'll see. But it will come back one day. It's just finding out when.
Let's look at just quickly, I think the former champions, right? Does Naomi Osaka have something in the tank? Does Emma Raducanu have something in the tank? They've both been showing signs. And maybe, I know Iga's a drastic example, but it takes time to really build. Maybe the start of playing better, by the time we get to New York, it could be different. So at plus 4,000 and 5,000 respectively, maybe we're starting to see signs that the former champs are on the come up. So could be worth making a bet as well.
Yeah, Osaka I'd probably quite like, because she's probably built her season, I'd imagine, around this American hard court swing. Probably grass, maybe not be a favourite surface, and had a nice challenger win on the clay, but I'm sure she's really looking forward to this hard court season, and having seen what other players can do, have won Grand Slams before previously, she must be thinking she can get back to her best and show a bit there. And Raducanu, she looked competitive in that game against Sabalenka. I don't want to get too carried away with that, because I don't think Sabalenka was at her best at Wimbledon all fortnight. But she's got great memories there, and there'd be just like somebody just like her to not win a tournament again, but then go win another Grand Slam. I mean, she's got good memories, and we know she can play decent tennis, but we're yet to see it on a consistent level, aren't we?
I had to bring it up to you. I couldn't bring this up on a show with Nigel, so I had to sprinkle the Emma's talk now. We'll save that later for tell him when he's here. It's like everybody.
We'll keep that between ourselves. Yeah.
Well, we mentioned some other stuff. Want to look at the matches in Los Cabos, and then a women's match you like, and maybe we can figure out a way as well to get a daily double action in here. We have the comment in the chat. If we got the matches and we got the bets, we love just making as many daily doubles as possible. And a reminder that you should sign up for the Betting Weekly Studios newsletter if you haven't already. Go to the website there, bettingweeklystudios.com. Plenty of great content, not just tennis, but all the sports. You got soccer, you got pro basketball going in the off season. You've got a lot of stuff as well. So just sign up for the newsletter, get in on the action, and get some early insight from the talented group of experts on the gambling front. Matches to look forward to in Los Cabos. It's starting off there in Mexico, the hard court action that'll be taking off into the evening. This was the match that stood up to me. It was a pretty close line. Emilio Nava taking on Aleksandar Vukic. Nava a slight underdog, but both minus money. And Vukic, who didn't have the best clay season, way more experience. But looking at Nava, he's been doing great on the Challenger Tour. And really, in this year, looking at it, he's 39-18 is the record. I know it's not mostly at tour level, but Tim, he's a player that I was looking at. I'm not sure that it's more of a lean than a pick, but I do think that form matters, and I think that this is a player that, just looking at the eye test, is in better form than Vukic.
Yeah, no, I mean, Nava's played a ton of matches on the clay this year, as you alluded to there. A lot of it being at challenger level, and Vukic has really struggled on this clay season so far. So you might actually enjoy returning to the hard courts, because I think he's only won one main level match on the clay this year, and I think that was in the first round in Rome, and then he lost in the second round straight after. I think he lost in the first round in Hamburg, first round in France, first round in Madrid, also in Munich. So yeah, he's really struggled on the clay. So he might be looking forward to getting back to these hard courts. But even on the hard courts, when at the start of the year, he wasn't playing great tennis. I think he's lost his last 7 matches on the hard court. So that kind of tells you the position he's in. So I think with Nava having that little bit more confidence in match victories, could play a key part here.
Yeah, last year he qualified for Los Cabos, won his opening match, beat Diego Schwartzman along the way, lost to Jordan Thompson, who won the tournament. So, no stranger to this event. I think he's a real play in that one. Other matches too. I'll have my eye on the Habib Kovacevic match. Kovacevic is a pretty big favorite at 3-1. I think he's somebody looking for a big result. You have Taro Daniel taking on Alex Hernandez. Adam Walton versus Pachio Mendez is another one. And then, yeah, I'm actually, Duckworth Mannarino. I didn't see this one when I looked this morning, but that's like neck and neck. Mannarino going right from grass to the hard court. He probably just found out who he was playing, or he will in like an hour or two, because he just doesn't look at the draw.
Yeah, I had a quick look at that. Yeah, they've met 4 times. Those guys, Mannarino winning 3 of them. A couple of those coming on the hard court. So Mannarino will be fairly comfortable. I think one of them was at a withdrawal after a set. So he'll be more comfortable getting back to those hard courts too. I think from these guys coming from the grass.
And this is why Bet Rivers is the best sports book. You got to get on there. We've got Los Cabos futures. Rublev is a prohibitive favorite at +170, followed by Davidovich Fokina 400, Shapovalov 600. So tons of other players out there. But how would you assess that, right? Would you recommend, Tim, like maybe if you're locked in, if you're a bettor that's locked in on this tournament, sprinkling on the future now, or do you find more value later and into the individual match bets?
I would probably stick this time just with the individual match bets, and then I'd probably be looking to get in future markets probably next week and moving on towards the US Open, because just see how your players adapting to the surfaces, see how they're feeling the ball off the racket, and just see how comfortable they are going forward, having coming from a lot of them from the clay, moving to the grass, and now back to the hard court. So just see how they're feeling, I think, as individuals, and then your futures can come in the week after.
And the worry for players similar to Rublev is maybe they have eyes on bigger prizes. They're ramping up. So is that value good? Let's see. Well, we got women's matches. We mentioned one of the ones that you highlighted that you wanted to talk about is in Hamburg, Germany, 250 event. It's Dayana Yastremska taking on Jule Niemeier. Yastremska -345. There you see the game spread is -3.5. So looking at this matchup, and he's got set betting as well. How you feeling on this one, Tim? And what's your lean or play?
Yeah, probably a little bit of a lean. Yeah, this is back to the clay, just without trying to get confused. These two, they've just met the ones before, with Niemeier winning that match at last year's US Open on the hard court. I think 6-4, 6-7, 6-4 in a tight one. And I just thought at the prices, Niemeier was probably just a little bit of value. Obviously, Yastremska's come here from a reasonable Wimbledon, taking out the world number 2 in the first round. A good victory, but yeah, Niemeyer's beaten her before, and she's played a couple of games on clay in Basel already so far since coming from Wimbledon, winning 1 and then losing 1 as well. So obviously, with this being in her home country, I think she's done. I think the last time she played here, she made the quarterfinals in 2023. So I think she'll be, as far as motivation goes, she'll be more up for it of the two. I think this is kind of means more to her than it perhaps does Yastremska. And Yastremska can play lights out, brilliant tennis, but she can have her off days and spread all over the court. So I just thought at the odds at sort of +255, I think she was probably a little bit of value. I thought she might be sort of near sort of the +200 mark. So I thought at +255, she was worth chancing here tomorrow with a lot in her favor.
I'm very curious too with this Boisson Grabher match, because Boisson at -250, we know the bump from the run at Roland Garros, but And Grabher hasn't had a successful season by any stretch, but I wonder if there is a little value there. Plus 185 on Boisson's case, which was an immaculate run, but was not given a wild card at Wimbledon. He doesn't qualify. Back to the clay. I just feel like that might be juiced a little bit based on one big, enormous, but one big result.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're just going to have to take on trust that Boisson's going to be back to her level now. She's returning in clay,
Mhm.
and I think at the odds you've mentioned there, it's a lot to take on trust, isn't it?
Mhm.
So yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if she's worth chancing here, going against Boisson, because I think a lot is to be taken on trust, and I think until you see her doing it, do you want to be getting involved at such short odds? Probably not.
No, I would agree completely on that one. And then Gustad, didn't see much in Gustad that I liked. Gustad, there's 2 matches. Well, really, I mean, 3 matches of the 4 listed on Bet Rivers that I wanted to just quickly mention. Gouffin taking on Martin Landaluce, excuse me. David Gouffin's plus 100. The this young Spanish kid, Landaluce, is minus 125. So does that line shock you that he's the favorite over an accomplished pro player who's probably on the backside, but has a win over Carlos Alcaraz this year?
Yeah, well, that shows his talent level, doesn't it? And with Goffin, you know what you're going to get with Goffin. He's not going to give you much, so Landaluce is going to have to come out and probably play a fairly clean match. And again, at the prices there, do you want to back him minus money to beat a consistent, performer who you know exactly what you're going to get?
Mhm.
Landaluce has probably obviously got the biggest ceiling at this stage of his career, I'd imagine. But right now, do you want to be getting involved at a minus money on a guy that you know what you're going to get from the other side of the net with Goffin?
Yeah, that's a interesting one, but yeah, sometimes they know. We've got a player since Goffin beat Alcaraz hasn't really happened for him. Shevchenko, Stan Wawrinka. Speaking of veterans, by all accounts, it looks like this is going to be the final, season on tour for Stan. He's a minus 139 favorite on the home soil in Gstaad, taking on Shevchenko, who's been uneven as well. Shevchenko plus 110, Stan minus 139. Is this Stan's last stand? Do you think that he's a good value at this number? Or do you like Shevchenko here?
I think if I was looking to get with Stan, I'd be looking in the first set market more than I would the match, because we've seen him certainly getting towards this stage of his career. He's just struggling with that durability, especially if it goes 3 sets. If he can get it done in 2, all the best. But you just see him fatiguing a bit, and the guy clearly loves playing tennis because he's
Mhm.
playing all over the Challenger tours this year. And so yeah, if I was looking to have a bet in the game, and I was trying to get with Stan, I'd be looking towards first set markets more than I would be on the match,
Yeah.
just because of that fitness level is definitely on the downgrade.
Yeah, the other one that I was looking at too is Struff taking on Juan Manuel Cerundolo at minus 152. Struff is, a much more accomplished player. We're talking about surface changes going back to the clay, but is that still value on a player like him in the minus 152 range?
I'd have to say no, and I agree with the guys. I think Sean Calvert was quite
Yeah.
clean on Surrendulu here, and you can see why really. Struff, I mean, how much motivation is he going to have for this? And I think Surrendulu, this is going to be a bigger day for him than it is for Struff. And I think at plus money, Surrendulu was a bit of value there, and I wouldn't put anyone off that. And Sean clearly likes him too, so that's probably enough said.
Yeah, we got a comment in the chat as well. Anything on Adam Walton in Mexico taking on Pachillo, the Mexican local? And I was just looking at the odds and the numbers for him. And I know again we're going back to hard court, but the value on the money line maybe not there at minus 230. Spreads at 3.5. So if you like the spreads or maybe the straight set betting, maybe that's a play on Walton. I don't know too much about the Mexican player he's playing, but Walton played a lot of tennis to get to this point, and unlike Struff, which you just said, probably a little more motivated in this tournament.
Yeah, possibly. I'll agree with you. I don't know too much about this Mexican players. Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on him. But they have met the ones before, and the Mexican got the better of that. So I'd probably at this stage, without knowing too much, it would just be a watching brief for me. Sorry, I can't be more helpful than that at this stage. I'll need to work up on that a little bit.
Hey, sometimes the best advice is hey, we're not experts. But the stand first set bet is minus 132 on Bet Rivers. So sounds like a good piece of advice there if you want to
Yeah,
go in on
probably
that
short
one.
enough, but I probably, if I was betting, if I had to choose between a match bet and a set betting, I'd definitely be going the set betting there. Obviously, he's used to the clay. He's played a few tournaments at Challenger level already, and he might be the better of the first two coming out the gate.
Well, Tim, this was fun. Again, we have a lot to offer on Bet Rivers and Betting Weekly Tennis Live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern all year long. Any final thoughts before we bid adieu?
No, I think just just to cover up those matches we looked at. Yeah, Niemeier was reasonably keen on. I thought 255 was a little bit too big, and I think I agree with you there. Nava at a slight underdog at -105 was probably worth having a go at too.
Yeah, I think those are good places to start. We'll see how the transition. Got a couple clay events. We're starting the hard court, and then before we know it, we'll be in New York City for the U.S. Open. So it happens fast. The season's long, but we just keep moseying along here. Tim, all the best. This was a blast. Thanks for coming on the show here.
Thanks, Mitch. My pleasure.
This was Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Subscribe to our Because We Win social channels, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You want to subscribe to YouTube, and you want to also sign up for the Betting Weekly Studios newsletter. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. Betting Weekly Tennis Live, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. For Tim Dennis, I'm Mitch Michaels. This was Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the tennis. We'll talk to you soon.